Coming up on One Detroit, heading back to museums, the changes we'll need to follow, and the art collection of actress CCH Pounder, now at the Charles H. Wright Museum. Plus, a new way to enjoy the Concert of Colors this year. Also ahead, a new record label out of Eastern Market, and then the real story behind a Detroit potato chip classic. I'm Christy McDonald. It's all about arts and culture, and One Detroit is coming up.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, MASCO Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. MASCO, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. NISSAN Foundation, and viewers like you.
Hey One Detroit, I'm Christy McDonald. Thanks so much for joining me. I know we're all missing those outdoor concerts and festivals this summer because of coronavirus, but here on this show, we are bringing the arts and culture scene to you, and there's some good news about the opening of museums. The Henry Ford, the Detroit Institute of Arts, and the Motown Museum are just some of the places opening up in the next week. Also coming up, the 28th Annual Concert of Colors moves to the fall. We'll have the new plans for you. And then we'll talk with musician Louis Resto, who has worked with everyone from Paul Simon to Eminem, and his partner Salar Ansari on their new record label from the Feeder Loft in Eastern Market. And then, the culture of Detroit potato chips. Do you know the full story? That's coming up. And we're starting off with museums opening back up. From the Louvre in Paris to right here at home, the Henry Ford in Greenfield Village opened up July 9th. The DIA and the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History on July 10th. The Motown Museum is set for July 15th. Of course, there will be health and safety regulations in place. Just head to onedetroitpbs.org for more details on what you need to know. Well, one of the collections right now at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History is the personal collection of actress CCH Pounder. She sat down this spring with Will Glover to talk about the exhibit that focuses on Black womanhood, beauty, and power.
Let's get started with where we expect to get started. You are a wildly successful actor. You've had success from Avatar to the NCIS series in your career. You beautifully restore homes around the country.
Thank you.
That I genuinely enjoy that.
Oh, thanks.
And you are a very well-respected art collector. Does it just come naturally to excel in other forms?
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but for me it came fairly naturally, and it kind of was hand in hand. Interiors. My mother bought a house for $27,000 and made all of her children paint and fix it up for the summer so that we could have money to go to school.
Oh, wow.
Lessons learned, because it wasn't as if, oh, paint. I said, no, get the corners, get that. And so an attention to detail started very, very young. I wanted to be an artist, a visual artist in the beginning, and I had this conflict with wanting to be an actor. I had a mentor, Stella Curran. I always give kudos to her because she said, Carol, acting's for young people. As long as you have your hands and your eyes, you can be an artist. And so I said, well, then I'll do the first half of my life as an actor and then the second half of my life as an artist. Well, of course, it doesn't really all fall together like that.
Right.
I mean, acting took a long time to manifest itself as a working person, and then all of a sudden it was there. And it was there relentlessly for, 45 years straight. So I haven't stopped acting professionally. And while I was doing that, I started to introduce my friends who were artists to people who did movies, to people who became chefs. So immediately there was a kind of, you ought to know so-and-so, and she ought to know you, and he can put that up on your wall of your restaurant. And
Right.
we had this wonderful sort of symbiotic activity going on within the arts. And so that's really how I started and how I continued.
Does your acting and your experience through the career so far, does that influence how you interact and approach with and pick art?
No, it's not the same, except in the sense that when you see the work downstairs, you will know that I'm interested in storytelling. And you can see it in almost every single painting that there's a story to be told. And it's not particularly complicated because there is strong emotion in almost all of the works. And so that is obviously my attraction, where I see something that speaks to me and I can literally almost feel the story.
Right.
And that's what makes it, I think, really perfect for the type of audience that sees my work.
And is that what about the pieces that you select? That what is it about those pieces that makes you say, this is it? Like, I have to, like, this is the story. I have to have it. I get that tingle down my spine.
Well, I remember my late husband saying to me, I'm only married to one woman. Look at all these women in here. And I tend to gravitate to the female subject. And I feel as if the emotion of the painting that I'm seeing gives me a story that I can tell. And I can actually translate it even into characters that I've played.
Right.
I've even gathered strength from paintings. Like, there's an incredible painting of Harriet Tubman, and it's a mean painting because she's standing over a man with a gun, and she's basically saying, if you don't get up and get us north, I will shoot you myself.
Right.
And you can see it in her face. And I just went, I just have to take that home. So there is a moment that I connect that's deeply personal.
What was the motivation in bringing, or if it wasn't a motivation, what was the reason for bringing this collection to the Wright here in Detroit?
Well, obviously Neil Barclay. And I'm not saying that just because he's in the room. But obviously, I had a relationship with Neil Barclay in New Orleans. I knew him then when he ran another institution, and he introduced the unusual. And I was somewhat fascinated by that. And when he came here, I decided that this was a great place to start a completely different phase of my collection, because I'd been talking about, I don't want it to end up in a basement. I don't want it to be part of my will that ends up in the basement of a museum and that gets trotted out Black History Month or a particular happening, and then it's like, oh, wouldn't it be appropriate if we went and got a couple of those paintings?
Right.
I wanted the idea that this was living matter, and it could be seen now, and it could travel, and other people could see it, be inspired by it, take a look at how we looked back then and what we're doing now and what the future holds for us. Within the collection, all three of those things exist. There's the historic, there's the present, and there's the future.
The exhibit will be there until August. All right, for the last 27 years, the Concert of Colors happens every July here in Detroit. But this year, because of the pandemic, it's moving to October 7th through 10th. It's a free multi-day festival that showcases and celebrates Detroit musical and ethnic diversity. And it's put on by cultural organizations across Southeast Michigan. Well, this year, Detroit Public Television will be filming live performances by headlining artists and then broadcasting each night of the festival. We caught up last July with headliner Don Was. He gave us a great behind-the-scenes look at preparing for the festival, along with founder Ismail Ahmed.
It's just meant to be fun. It's kind of a Detroit celebration. I think it's just more of a communal event where a group of 2,000 like-minded people get together for a night and hear songs that they love and songs that have their roots in our town. This year, our theme is a celebration of the 60th anniversary of the birth of Motown Records. It's a lot of fun to play those songs more than anything else. But we got Martha and the Vandellas, and we have the Velvelettes, and Mitch Ryder's going to be there, and then a lot of other local performers. And we're just going to do our versions of some Motown classics.
Well, let me just tell you how we met. I used to like his band in the 90s or 80s. I was a fan of the band, but didn't think a lot about it. And then one day, an Algerian band came to play the Concert of Colors. And guess who the bass player in that band was? Don was. So after it was done, I invited the band out to dinner in Dearborn, and we just sat there talking about Detroit. I mean, we bonded over Detroit.
We had some common background. We both used to go see the MC5 at the Grandy Ballroom, and I think that was how the conversation started. And I think we have, I don't want to say a political outlook necessarily, but a global view that's similar.
We both had ideas that were similar. He came to Detroit, and this will be the 12th year of the review. He once told me, I ask him every year, are you willing to do this again? And he always goes, I'll do it in your living room. Concert of Colors has always been about something, about diversity. In fact, it's called the Concert of Colors Detroit's Diversity Festival. This year, it will be about freedom of expression, but we also are about the music, and we're also about people getting together. So we're a different kind of a concert.
Tu boca junto a mi boca, paloma, palomita.
The music of Detroit, the music that people in Detroit like, is really raw and honest. I'll go to like John Lee Hooker as an example. That's about the rawest blues you're ever going to hear. But it's about as soulful as any music you're going to hear anywhere in the world.
The ability for people to work together is clearer in music, and cultures get respected the way they need to be by the presentation of their music and other arts. And so it's really important that this be part of the agenda. And certainly we're not the only ones doing it, but no one is doing it on this scale and in this way.
I think there's something about Detroit that it instills it in the population of the city. I think it's maybe because everybody's kind of in the same boat. Certainly when I was growing up here, that was the case, where everyone's income, everyone's well-being depended on the welfare of the automobile business. There was really no point in putting on any airs. I never saw limousine till I got to California. They just didn't have them around here. I never saw Rolls Royce or a Bentley. There was no point in leasing a big expensive car to impress your friends, because no one was impressed, because everyone knows that we're all in the same stuff together. Well, that's a really nice thing about Detroit, and it creates an environment where I think people are really honest with each other. It's a very real city. The music that comes out of here is very real. And if you're not putting on any airs, you sort of look after each other a little bit. And I sense that, you know, I'm in my job at Blue Note Records. I'm moving around the world all the time. And it just feels like people are nicer to each other here. I don't know how to put it any other way.
Not that it's important, but an Arab and a Jew who really are, you know, so close to each other about things that they believe in and so forth. And that's just an icon of what, you know, is what is possible out of Concert of Colors and this world. There's There is so much that we all have in common. Don't underestimate the power of music and culture to change the world, because it does.
Life is tough, man. You know, like we don't know why we're here. we don't know if we're going to drop dead in the next 10 seconds. We don't know if we're going to get fired. We don't know if we're going to get divorced. It's tough to deal with. It's a lot for people to carry around. And anything that helps you forget about your burdens and dance for an hour and a half, you should make a point to participate in that.
The 28th Annual Concert of Colors is October 7th through 10th, and you'll be able to see it right here on Detroit Public Television. Well, the Feeder Loft in Eastern Market has been around as a space for music collaboration for the last 9 years. Now, well-known musicians Louis Resto, you know him for helping create Lose Yourself with Eminem, and his creative partner Salar Ansari have launched a new record label out of the space. Will Glover has the story.
Tell me a little bit about where you guys are have been recording.
We are on the third floor of DeVries Cheese Shop in Eastern Market, and I've been there for the last 9 years. Met David in 2011 when he was reopening as DeVries, and started playing and opening up the loft on Saturdays, and starting to jam with people on Saturdays and music, meeting the community. And about 5 years ago, Salar and I met via those Saturdays, and we hit it off. Real great chemistry. We jammed, and he went right over to the analog stack of synths, and I was on the piano. We reacted and went, and that was how we met. And kind of it's come up from there.
Is there a specific style of music that you guys are aiming for with Feeder, or is it just, you know, you're going with the flow? What's the objective?
Well, I've been in every genre of music for my life, and had great fortune and been blessed to have played on some pretty popular tracks. But honestly, since meeting Salar, I've sort of followed his lead on what the pulse is happening. And when I come in and I'm able to hear stuff he's working on in the studio, it kind of blows me away that it's being done in the loft, and that the sounds he's getting and the way he's producing, and that really fulfills me.
Yeah, Salar, talk to me about what you're aiming for, what kind of music you're being spoken to.
The people I connect to, or maybe the circle of musicians that I usually find myself connected to, we are the type that studies the history of the music. And I think that's one part that helps the connection between me, Luis, and my fellow musicians and Luis, is because we have all studied where the music comes from, the sounds we like, always study to go down to the originator of that niche or corner of the music. So that's one part of our sound, but also we are all also trying to just constantly challenge the process of making music in a way that going towards bringing sounds from the future, not trying to redo things that have been done for any reason. It's always good to be within the true school, but also it's very interesting to try to push the edges to discover new corners.
Yeah, but I think you nailed it with that, the search, you know?
Exactly.
And that's really what the loft is about. It's this search and incubator for experimentation. And that's where I came from through all my session work with everybody I've worked with. All of them, thankfully, were for the search, you know? I mean, we'd go down one path all day, build up a whole track, and then whoever the artist was might say, that's not working. Toss it out, try it again. So when Salar and I met, and I saw the way his head works, experimentation and let's see, synth love and psychedelia.
Yeah.
All of it. It was like, wow, this, I remember this, and then it's kind of it's viewed in a new way. He's current, so to see him go and to see us get along with those same wavelengths, and to hear him say, how the histories kind of then meet in the future. That's really where our heads are at.
What first steps can young artists take to get to a better place, to get to a place where they can collaborate with people and possibly make a career out of it?
You have to love doing whatever you're doing. If it's not the arts, whatever you do, I believe you have to be happy and love what you do. And I love music, so when I started working, it wasn't. There were plenty of gigs that paid nothing, and I had to pay gas to get to the gig, but I loved doing it. And then 10 years later, 15 years later, when you actually see something come, that's icing on the cake. Do it for the music, and believe in whatever you're into, and that's my best advice.
And finally, how about a little culture when it comes to potato chips? We all have our favorites, especially a little Detroit pride when you pick up a bag of Best-Maid, but do you know the story behind the chips? Here's a look from Detroit Remember When, made in the Motor City.
Maybe we should call our beloved Motown Po-Town because we eat so many potato chips here, more per capita really than anywhere else. How come? Well, our emotional attachment runs all the way back to the 1920s with that iconic brand in the yellow package.
Best-Maid potato chips, one of my favorites to this day. Can't get it any better.
Best-Maid, had to be Best-Maid.
I must get 2 letters a week if people want to buy us. I just disregard them because I want to keep it as a family business, My dad and his cousin decided to start a potato chip company since it was all the rage at the time.
Peter Cipriano came over from Italy at the age of 17. Crossmo Sherry worked for Best-Maid potato chips. When Best-Maid closed, the two got together and Cipriano got cooking.
So he used the best oil, the best potatoes, good salt, and he named it Better Made. That's M-A-D-E.
They sold chips a nickel a bag on Belle Isle. Of course, back then, more than 20 other companies were making chips in town.
They were all competing for that new snack food business,
So chippers opened storefronts selling nothing but potato chips. Best-Maid even had shops next door to movie theaters. In post-war Detroit, New Era potato chips grew into a regional brand with factories in Detroit, Chicago, and Worcester, Ohio.
New Era was probably our stiffest competition.
Frito actually bought New Era back in the 1950s, and then after Frito merged with Lay, New Era, well, it sort of just faded away. Sal Cipriano's collection of chip canisters are a daily reminder of all the fallen brands.
Vita Boy was here. There was Crunchy and Wolverine, even Twin Pines. The dairy company made potato chips for a while.
Superior stuck around until the 1980s. Best-Maid still making chips on Gratiot right across the street from where many of Detroit's first Italian families lived.
All right, now that I'm hungry, that is going to do it for us on One Detroit. For all of our stories and interviews, just head to onedetroitpbs.org. And we are leaving you with a pretty cool performance. It's a virtual steel band from Oakland University. They're performing a piece called Rainmaker, and they had to record themselves doing their part. And then composer and professor Patrick Fitzgibbons put it all together. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, MASCO Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. MASCO, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. NISSAN Foundation, and viewers like you.